Wars Rogue Squadron was one of the best arcade-style flight sims for the Nintendo 64. It had extraordinarily well-made and fast-paced combat, difficult mission objectives, and an excellent story. As you would expect, it was a game that was due a sequel, and that sequel came out in 2001 for the then-new Nintendo GameCube, and that sequel was Star Wars Rogue Squadron II Rebel Leader. It became one of the highest-selling non-first-party Nintendo GameCube games, and I am highly dubious about it. But don't just take my word for it, for today we are going to be joined by a true fan of the game, Ackbar Fan.
Lotz, let me be the first to say thank you for including me along for this review. Rogue Leader is usually put up there as one of the best Star Wars games of all time by most fans. Why is that? Well, while the original Rogue Squadron focused more on the efforts of Luke's elite fighter squadron, this one deals with more about the immersing of the player in the original trilogy's greatest battles, such as the Death Star assault above Yavin, the Rebellion's darkest day in the cold of Hoth, and their triumph over the forest moon of Endor.
So now, let's pop it into the Wii and take a look. Star Wars Rogue Squadron II Rebel Leader was developed by the legendary Factor 5 and released on the Nintendo GameCube on November 18th, 2001, and was one of the GameCube's earliest titles.
Not just earliest, it was actually a GameCube launch title for North America, though it gets a bit forgotten considering there were 11 other games with it like Luigi's Mansion, Madden 2002, Super Monkey Ball, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and Wave Racer.
Like with many other exclusive Star Wars games, I did not play it when it was released, as in 2001 I was still exclusively a PC gamer. I finally played the game in 2008 and never actually got off of the first level. Oh yes, you shall see why later in the video.
As for me, I think it was around 2003 when I was at a friend's house and we played the game, and I had a GameCube, so I thought I just had to get it. My mom took me to Toys R Us, rest in peace by the way. We paid for it, though my mom wondered why it was a bit more expensive for a 2-year-old game. That was because we stupidly picked up Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike. Still fun, but it was kind of the wrong game. Though, Rogue Leader was also in the game as a co-op mode. I didn't pick up the original base game until 2011 at a GameStop for $1.99.
My copy would languish in a box all the way up until 2019, when I would finally complete it for Star Wars Year. And I have to say, it was half worth the wait, to say the least. First, let's take a look at the gameplay. It is more or less the gameplay seen in Rogue Squadron 1, just not as good. Now you can no longer set your blasters, and instead they are always firing on rapid all the bloody time, unless you tap the button, and then they will fire linked. However, this is not such a big problem since you never really take out hardened targets.
Plus it takes a good full 2 seconds for the lasers to be linked. That issue would later be solved in Rebel Strike.
The throttle controls have been made worse on the X-Wing. In Rogue Squadron 1, you could speed up, and if you really wanted to get moving, you could lock S-foils. In this game, if you tap the throttle, you speed up a little bit, but if you press the button entirely, you lock S-foils and thus cannot fire. This means that you have to be very wary of the bloody throttle so that you do not overshoot your target by accident. The controls also leave a bit to be desired, most notably the targeting computer. You have to have 3 bloody hands to use it effectively. Now you might think that all you have to do is just tap a button and have the targeting computer stay up. Oh no, it's not that easy. It's never that easy. What you have to do is you have to hold down on the Y button to keep the targeting computer up. This is not that big of a deal, but since your fire button is the A button, you have to hold down the Y button and kind of rock your thumb back and forth to fire. It's uncomfortable and really quite annoying. I get that this is an early game for the Nintendo GameCube, but it's still annoying nonetheless. As for the actual shooty bits, they have sadly been drastically simplified since the first game. In the first Rogue Squadron game, you had numerous hard-to-complete objectives that varied from level to level. In this game, pretty much all you really get is...
wipe out enemy fighters.
Riveting. In almost every single bloody level, you get that same old objective of wipe out enemy fighters. And the levels are much simpler than before, but the game is still pretty bloody tough, so they got that part right at least. And it will be a challenge to so much as complete a level, much less getting a goddamn medal.
Medals are arranged in several categories: completion time, enemies killed, your shot accuracy, friendlies killed, how many lives you lost, and your targeting computer use. Medals you can get range from bronze, silver, gold, and then if you do really well, you can get an ace medal. Trust me, it took me so long to ace medal every mission, but I beep and did it.
The game also introduces wingmen that you can control, but this is not as good as it sounds, as they aren't really all that useful, and I only ever sent them to, you guessed it, wipe out enemy fighters.
Most of the time they do so little, so you're more likely to ask them to retreat just to keep up that friendlies lost category for the medals.
Many of the famous Star Wars craft make an appearance. The famous Incom T-65 X-Wing with its proton torpedoes, the slow but shieldy Y-Wing with its proton bombs, and now you actually use the ion cannons in more than one level! The A-Wing Interceptor with its 20 concussion missiles. The B-Wing in the game is a crappier version of the X-Wing, in my estimation at least.
It's a fighter-bomber, Lotz. It's got the firepower for harder targets, ion cannons, 12 proton torpedoes. You want this thing to take on a capital ship, not gain true fighter superiority.
Then you got the T-47 Airspeeder, or as most fans just call it, the Snowspeeder. It's back, and it's just as good as ever. But alas, the V-Wing Airspeeder is sadly absent.
Well, that's because we never went into Dark Empire territory. I like those comics, by the way, despite the complaints of the Palpatine clones.
The bonus craft are still excellent as ever. The Naboo in-1 starfighter makes a return, but sadly the blaster cannons do not sound nearly as good as they did in Rogue Squadron 1.
Plus, she looks like she's been through the ringer with all that carbon scoring.
The Falcon is back and still as fun as ever, and you can unlock Slave 1! Sadly, it's not too amazing, but it's cool nonetheless. You can unlock 3 Imperial craft, Vader's TIE Advanced X-1, the TIE Fighter, and the Imperial Shuttle, and all are equally crappy, but it's epic nonetheless to fight the Death Star battle in a bloody Imp Shuttle. And like in the first game, you can unlock the car, and it has a fully modeled interior, and when you hit the boosters, the roof goes up. All that space air might muss up Wedge's hair.
Note, that car is actually Factor 5 employee Rudolph Stember's 1969 Buick Electra. Thank you, Wikipedia. Oh, and another thing, this was a carryover from Battle for Naboo, but in that, you could pull into a hangar and switch vehicles mid-mission. That comes back here, and you can use it to switch out to a few different vehicles, like on the Bespin mission, where you can actually fly a cloud car.
In this game, there are 3 different hangars in which you will select craft from, depending upon the mission. You have the Yavin Temple hangar, the Echo Base hangar, and the Calamari Cruiser hangar. And you can control Luke or Wedge as they hilariously run through it. What's kind of funny is that as you unlock more craft, the Calamari hangar gets a bit cramped, and the devs just give up and have the craft teleport to the middle of the hangar to fly out. Also, the car is affected by space gravity. The graphics, well, let's put it this way. Like with Crysis, they were both in 2001 and today what got people to buy the bloody game. Quite simply, they look gorgeous. Even in 2019, everything is high quality and extraordinarily detailed. And this game really showed off just what Nintendo's little purple cube with a handle was capable of.
Want to hear something really crazy? Factor 5 was one of the first few developers to get their hands on the GameCube's hardware, and after they finished up Battle for Naboo, they went right to work to try to make the launch date for the Cube. Development-wise, this game took 11 months to make.
Damn!
Ratchet & Clank's sequels on the PS2 took even less time. Still, the fact that this game still looks this great is clearly a testament.
The camera is simultaneously good and controller blastingly bad. Unlike in the first game, you actually get a bloody dogfight camera. When the enemy is directly behind you, the camera zooms out to show that you are in the enemy's sights.
He's on me tight! I can't shake him! Little Trilogy arcade game reference for some of you there.
This should be good, but when it zooms out when you're trying to take down an enemy in front of you, it's bad. When you're trying to stop a bloody fighter from taking down a friendly, and you cannot see it anymore because the thrice damned camera has bloody well zoomed out, it's really, really deleterious. But let's not be detained by that Sith-spawned camera any longer. Let's take a look at the lackluster music. The tracks do not stand out and really sound like low-rent renditions of the Star Wars score. In short, it sounds like music from a shovelware game. Even the bloody Rogue Squadron theme sounds crappy here. The voice acting also leaves something to be desired. When you turn the game box over on the back, you find that it proudly states that it features the voice of Dennis Lawson, the real-life relative of Ewan McGregor and the original actor for Wedge Antilles. That's gotta be the epical, right? It should be good, but sadly old Denny never gets any material to work with. He does a great job of saying, "One more to go," but sadly that's all he really gets to say, and he never gets to emote in any way, thus meaning his talent is wasted here. The other voice actors are pretty bad, especially the guy playing Lando. He just sounds bloody bored. All told, the sound of the music could have been better, but do not really detract from the experience.
Okay, hang on. I actually liked the music. Some of the use of John Williams' score, as well as some of the little arrangements they have, I still hum to this very day. Also, dude, what is it with you going after the voice actors? We got quite a good cast. Tom Kenny, Greg Griffin, Rob Paulson, Tom Kane as General Crix Madine, Denny Delk is back as the narrator, and Bob Bergen reprises his role as Luke. Anytime before the EA exclusivity agreement, when Luke needed a voice, it was Bob Bergen doing it. Plus, I thought that Lawson was great. He got to do his lines from New Hope and Empire that got dubbed over due to a complicated thing involving British Union rules involving filming in the UK.
The footage you are seeing here was recorded off of a Wii with an HDMI adapter, and it looks pretty bloody good in 1080, and looks great on a 23-inch flat panel monitor. You can potentially emulate this game with Dolphin, but it really depends on your system specs, as it is an intensive game to emulate and requires a great deal of tweaking to get working. And I eventually just packed it in and went for legit hardware. I recommend looking at the Dolphin forums for instructions on how to emulate it, as you might have better luck with it than I did. The legit copy has a couple of glitches that I personally ran across. Your copy of the game might not have them, but sadly, mine did. The two most angering were within the Battle of Hoth level. You have the objective to stop the AT-ATs from destroying the shield generator. However, you will not destroy all of them before you transition to another objective. The glitch I encountered caused me to fail the mission due to the game not flagging the AT-AT's destruction. I also ran into a glitch where my game straight up crashed after completing Battle of Hoth. So yeah, even console games can have their share of bugs. Now, let's go level by level and take a look at the real nuts and bolts of Rogue Squadron II. First, you gotta love that LucasArts logo. It's a bunch of Stormies with air guidance lamps jamming out to the Cantina theme, and the camera pulls back to show that they form the Goldman. The menus for the game are also impressive as they feature numerous scenes from the movies. I'm not going to show them too much, as the great Lord Mickey frowns on such heresy. Rogue Squadron II does not feature an actual narrative of any sort, but instead just features numerous battles from across the original trilogy. You see why I said that Denny was wasted here? While the original was Luke establishing the Rogues as an ace fighter squadron, in this game, you more or less just go through the films, with a good amount of the game taking place between 5 and 6. The first level has you fighting above the Death Star, and damn does it look really bloody cool with the Super Space Next Gen graphics, man! It kind of sucks, especially when compared to the one from Rogue Squadron 1. In this game, you shoot some towers, and then shoot some fighters, and then rock off to the end. Boring, but serviceable. Also, where is the bloody exhaust port? Well, technically, it's only 2 meters wide, so therefore it's supposed to be difficult to hit. Then which button controls the Force? Because I cannot see it! In Rogue Squadron 1, it was a big, bloody port. Here, it's almost invisible. Contrary to the instructions both in the game and in the movie, don't turn off your targeting computer, because if you do, you won't be able to see it, meaning you will blow all your torps and then die. That's why I never finished this bloody level back in 08. I could never see that bloody port and thus died, and I just figured that I had a bugged copy. In 2019, I just got lucky, and during a live stream, I left the targeting computer on, and thus could see the bastard.
Yeah, you can do it with it off. You just have to kind of fly level and fire right along the middle, and then it will suddenly drop. Feels less like Luke force pushing it in and more like Starkiller delivering a force cannonball. Once you get the lock-on torpedoes upgrade, it's easier. Still, aside from that, it's probably one of the closest renditions to the Fateful Scene, and awesome.
Mission 2 is another spec mission that is impressive but stupid. Rogue Squadron drops out of FTL to pass through Nebula because Spec is only 2D, I guess. The mission only amounts to wipe out enemy fighters and features a massive continuity error. Midway through the mission, you switch craft because you would totally do that in the middle of a battle, and you have to face down TIE interceptors several years before the Empire fielded them. And don't give me any crap about prototypes either. The TIE Interceptor's prototype was the TIE Advanced and actually looks substantially different from the finished product.
Well, there goes my argument. Never mind. Ison Corridor Ambush is a fun defense mission, and the Nebula part is actually kind of spooky, especially with the TIE Interceptors lurking around.
Level 3 is just another rendition of the Battle of Hoth. Nothing good, nothing bad, just a bit redundant, since by this point, one would have played that exact same battle at least 3 times.
Well, I never had a 64, so I never played Shadows of the Empire or Rogue Squadron, so this was all new for me. Personally, I love it, but I could say that about most missions.
The next mission is another continuity error. You have to rescue some prisoners from the Maw in a Y-Wing. The Rebs/New Republic shouldn't know about this until after the Battle of Endor. The mission is still pretty bloody fun and damn impressive graphically.
This mission kicked my ass for years, as it never occurred to me that you just needed to drop your proton bombs on the damn turrets. One strategy guide later, and that issue was a thing of the past. Certainly faster and less turbo laser taking than the ion cannoning the turrets, then riddling them with blaster fire.
Next, we face Razor Rendezvous, one of my favorite missions, as you get to face down an Imp Class 1. And this Imp Class 1 must have gone to the Niven repair shop, as it actually has point defenses. By the Force, that's logical. This mission is tough and has you dodging PDC shots and keeping enemy fighters off of a frigate.
We also get a bit more of a continuity confusion with the next 3 missions, as the Razor is carrying the Death Star 2 computer that Dash Rendar picked up, and stealing the shuttle Tidarian were also in Star Wars X-Wing Alliance. So perhaps one of the few good things that came from the Disney reboot.
Heresy! Destroy it!
The next mission, Vengeance on Koathas, is another epic one, and my favorite in the game. You have to get the data core from the Star Destroyer that you downed in the previous level. You have to protect this transport carrying General Crix Maydeen and his commandos from enemy fighters. And this is not an easy task, as it's one huge, slow, moving target. Just getting to the landing point will take a bit of skill and a whole lot of luck.
Then you got an issue when AT-ATs blast their way out of the crash and start heading for the landing site. You need to switch to a speeder and tow cable them up. However, most of their legs are in the water, so you don't have much of a Y-axis to work with.
Then, you have to hop into a Y-Wing and fend off a new wave of AT-PTs. You finish the mission by bombing the Star Destroyer's hull in a suitably epic fashion. Next, we get another good one. Imperial Academy Heist. You have to first sneak in a Y-Wing and steal the shuttle Tidarium. The level is significantly easier than the previous one, but will still keep you on your toes.
Of course, that's if your GameCube's clock is on daylight hours. If at night, the mission goes night and you have to sneak in using a speeder. Also, there's a whole complicated thing about unlocking the TIE Fighter here that I won't say.
Next, we have this game's version of the Talaran,
She's a beauty,
level from the previous game, except here you get to go to the big, beautiful planet herself, Bespin. This level is graphically impressive, but way too easy, and is sadly forgettable.
Still cool to fly through the city streets and take out those generators. The lights even flicker off once you destroy them, so that's a nice little aesthetic.
Next, we got the Battle of Endor. It's long and hard, and I like it, and love it, and want some more of it.
I still say that the 8 minutes of film involving the space battle is the greatest thing ever done by man. This level always brings a tear to my eye.
You know what also brings a tear to my eye, Ackbar fan? The very next level. Because if you thought Endor and the rest of the game was actually, hard, well, let me tell you this. You gotta be hard enough when this game's Rod of Steel injects.
Welcome to Hell, aka Assault the Core. You have to Me Too the Death Star 2 in the absolutely worst way. You have to penetrate it and impregnate it with Wedge's white-hot torpedoes.
Would you get your mind out of the gutter?
Hey, it's me. But getting to the core is no easy feat. For one, whole graduating classes of TIE pilots are behind you and can kill you super bloody quickly. And on top of that, you have to watch the ass of the Falcon.
You can play this level with the Millennium Falcon. However, this of course makes the game that much harder and should only be attempted by those who find the red Tearstone Ring run in Dark Souls easy.
Did it. The Falcon can fire backwards, you know.
You have to keep the Falcon alive, and it has little health and is a massive target. You also have to make sure that you don't run into the bloody walls as well. Here's a clip from my live stream. In said stream, I have been working on this level for over 1 bloody hour. Roll it. I hate this game, I hate this game, I hate this game, I hate this game, I hate this game! No, 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 no! Yes! Please, 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 please. Don't crash into the Millennium Falcon. Please, God, don't crash into the Millennium Falcon. Huh? Huh? Da 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 da!
Yes, Assault on the Core will make you hate this game, to the point where when you finish it, you will cry out to Factor 5, "Please, sir, can I have some more?"
And by the great Talos does it give you some. There are several excellent bonus missions that can actually be unlocked with points you earn in the game. As I don't have Mountain Dew for blood, as Ackbar clearly has, I was only able to legitimately unlock 1 level. But that's something a little thing called cheating can fix. The cheapest level to unlock is the Death Star Escape. You play as Han Woo Solo, as you and the Falcon attempt to escape the Death Star, and you can awesomely control the Falcon's quad lasers. What's funny is if you miss the very last tie, you die.
You know, I can just imagine Tarkin's face after this happens. Lord Vader, weren't we supposed to, let them leave so they could lead us to the rebel base?
The ability to destroy a YT-1300 freighter is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
What does that have to do with... I get it, you're hopped up on the Sith, heroin, whatever. Just I'm surrounded by fools here.
The most epic level to unlock is Triumph of the Empire. You even get to visit the Death Star's hangar and slowly walk around as Vader himself. Move your ass, you leather-clad old rust bucket! I have videos to work on! In this mission, you can stop the Death Star from being exploded, and to do this, you take down several waves of X-Wings, and I can only imagine that that one was Rookie 1! Your potentiometer won't save you now!
Nice Rebel Assault reference. Funny considering Factor 5 did those too. Anyways, X-Wings and Y-Wings are harder to take down, so you'll need your cluster missiles. The 3 other bonus missions are the Asteroid Field, where you fly the Falcon through the Asteroid Field of Hoth to escape. Then there's the Revenge on Yavin level, where you have to fly as Vader again and try to stop the rebels from evacuating Yavin 4 by destroying their transports.
Which, sadly, I do not have any footage of, because the cheat code didn't work, and there is not enough Mountain Dew in this world for me to be a good enough gamer to unlock this legitimately.
The whole battle is crazy with all the ships flying around as well as the ground forces clashing. Finally, there's Endurance mode where you have to survive 100 waves of ties before dueling Vader in his tie advance.
Now, we're not done just yet, ladies and gentlemen. A game such as Rogue Squadron II cannot just be reviewed by 2 people. Oh no, we gotta get Rain in on this, and he's going to give his thoughts on Rogue Squadron II. And I gotta say, it seems like I'm very much in the minority in not liking this game all that much.
Rogue Squadron II Rogue Leader ended up picking this up as a launch title and was living with a lot of Star Wars aficionados in one big apartment back when this came out. We would take turns playing through each missions, trying to get the gold medals all the way through. It was really taken by surprise when we saw that the GameCube's internal clock mattered for a couple missions, turning them from assaults to stealth missions. It's quite interesting. Also of note is the fact that along with the John Williams theme, which is ever so classic for Star Wars, you actually have some really awesome music by Chris Hulsbeck. One thing to note, though, is while this game is great, it does not emulate well right now. But this will change. Also of note is this streams data to the GameCube, so be sparing about how you play it unless you have a spare GameCube, because this can actually wear out the drive prematurely. Otherwise, absolutely awesome game. It took all of us in that apartment, all 4 of us, playing through several different times to gold medal everything for the missions in this, which in this game, as compared to the first, You're not playing expanded universe lore for the most part. You're playing the episodes 4, 5, and 6, making this probably the best, in my opinion, of all of the Rogue Squadron titles. Some view that number 3 is the best, some view number 1 is the best. I'm right in the middle. If you have a chance to pick this up and play it, do so. It is by far, in my opinion, the best arcade-style Star Wars flight game you're going to get. Note, not flight sim. That so goes to X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. There's a lot to enjoy here, and honestly, it still plays great and looks great to this day. The soundtrack by Chris Hulsbeck is actually important because Chris has been in the gaming industry for a long time. He recorded the soundtrack for Turrican and other games and has always produced exceptional music. This is a very solid package overall, graphically, gameplay-wise, and sound-wise. It's just well made.
And so that is Rogue Squadron II. In my opinion, it is an imperfect sequel. It is impressive in some places and disappointing in others. In terms of quality, it is only a Return of the Jedi and sadly not an Empire Strikes Back.
Well, Return was my favorite film of all time, so by that logic, this is my favorite Star Wars game of all time, though there are a bunch that come close.
I still recommend it, as it still is fun, but it misses the mark of being as transcendent as Rogue Squadron 1. And I would like to thank Ackbar Fan for joining me and giving an alternative perspective on this game.
Glad to be of help, Lotz. Let's do it again sometime. Maybe do another Star Wars game, or perhaps something from Medal of Honor, as that's how I actually found you.
And so, I am GeneralLotz, wishing you good Jedi Knight, and good Mysteries of the Sith, or whatever makes you happy.
Morgan Katan! This dead man holds the valley's location.
I would like to thank Ackbar Fan and Rainick for joining me in making this video, and for providing some alternative perspectives on this particular game. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon, so that I can continue bringing you these awesome game reviews.